Hello, I'm Sensei Alex Kukuya. The title of today's Dharma talk is Unfair Blows. Before we get into that, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I post talks in the future. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that'd be great too. We're in the middle of planting season here at the homestead, and this is one of my favorite times of year, but it's also, frankly, one of the most stressful, primarily because we do a lot of work in these few weeks and we don't know if it's successful until months later. We put the seeds in now and we don't know if we'll get vegetables at the end. Maybe insects will come and ruin the crop. Maybe the plants just won't grow for some reason. Maybe we won't get enough rain. So there's a lot of joy, but there's also a lot of anxious anticipation. That said, there are certain crops that I throw in the ground and I have 100% assurity that it'll be successful. One of those are potatoes. In the few years that we've been doing this, we've been very successful with potatoes. They're fairly drama-free, they're very pest-resistant, so I was expecting to have another easy potato harvest this year. Here's why that was a mistake. We put the plants in the ground, they started to grow, the vines are coming out of the soil, they're green, they're healthy, they look good, and then out of nowhere, about a week ago, we had a surprise frost. Now, I live fairly far north, so we get frost late into the spring, but even for us, having a frost in May is pretty rare. So I didn't plan for it. The crops weren't covered, and as a result, when I walked out to check on my potato plants, they were wilted and dying. And I was saddened not only because the potato plants were injured, but also because it just seemed very unfair. I did everything I was supposed to do according to the almanac, according to the homesteader channels. I got certified seeds, I planted them in good soil, I waited until the time of year that I was supposed to plant them, and still, something terrible happened. Still, my garden beds were filled with dying vegetables. Now, thankfully, they've started to bounce back, and even if we don't get a good crop from these beds, we will be planting a second harvest later in the year, so not all is lost. However, it made me think not just about gardening, but about life in general. How unfair it can be sometimes. We have the degree and the certification, but we still don't get the job. We are kind and loving to our family, but they still mistreat us. We are with our partner for years and everything seems to be going well, and then they leave us. Time and time again, we as human beings are hammered by unfair blows. Life strikes out at us, even though it seems like we're doing everything right. And this can be disheartening. Frankly, it can make us sad. Because what have we done to deserve this treatment? And, sometimes it is our fault. Sometimes we know, due to the law of karma, that we have in fact done things that have brought misfortune upon us. And in those moments, it's important to take a look at our actions, be perfectly honest, and make decisions about how we'll change our behavior in the future. That said, the law of karma, the law of cause and effect, also tells us that sometimes bad things just happen. Sometimes it's not something we did. Sometimes we're not at fault. Sometimes it's just a bad situation. There's no one to blame. There's nothing to fix necessarily. We just need to suck it up and move on. Endure our trials and tribulations in the short term so that we can have better success in the long term. So I'm experiencing that right now with my potato plants. Like I said, they're starting to bounce back. I'm continuing to water them and nurture them as I normally would. I'm also making plans just in case this particular crop doesn't work out The key we have to remember if we're trapped in a bad situation that the worst thing we can do is stop our good behaviors. Buddhist liturgy is important in this respect. When we chant, when we meditate, when we prostrate in front of the altar every day, we do that on good days, but we also do it on bad days, because that accumulative effect helps us get through the hard times in the same way that continuing to water my potato plants, even though they died back, even though they wilted, is what allows them to grow and get past this hardship. Similarly, if we don't get the job, the worst thing we can do is stop applying. We continue doing the right things. We continue applying for jobs with the understanding that eventually we'll get one. If someone is unkind to us, we continue being loving and kind to others. Not because we'll necessarily change that individual, but because we know eventually our love and kindness will be returned. If we meet the unfair blows of life with wisdom and compassion per the Buddhist teachings, what happens is we're able to live through the hard times, and we're able to make the best of the good times that are to come. All we have to do is roll with the punches and keep doing the right thing every day. Amitabha.